stream right there in the comments if you guys would rather watch on YouTube. It's going to be a little bit more of a friendly, viewer-friendly experience. Okay, sweet. All right, let's get talking about this. So right here, we are looking at the current satellite imagery, and we can see our mid-latitude cyclone beginning to take shape. And by the way, let me know how the audio is, how the picture quality is, and all that kind of stuff. And don't forget to hit that like button as we get going with this. And let me know where you're watching from. I see all of you guys commenting. Hello. And thank you to Colette and Martha and Barefoot and the Cascada for becoming members of the channel here on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, we're looking at this mid-latitude cyclone. It is developing off the coast of California right now as we speak. And the models have been trending stronger for this for us here in Washington State. And the trends have been a little bit concerning, and hopefully the models are overdoing it. That's one thing I want to clarify right off the bat. I do not want a windstorm to happen tomorrow. That's actually not what I want. It's Christmas Eve, everybody. It's the holidays. And we're going to be possibly dealing with a legit windstorm. And that's what the National Weather Service thinks as well. Something that I think is interesting, I wanted to show you guys this real fast, is I posted on my page just a moment ago, and what I said was this. I'm going to drag this over here so you guys can see it. I posted here that, in my opinion, it is beginning to look more and more likely that we're going to be dealing with a windstorm tomorrow. And as I was writing this, little did I know, as I was writing this and posting this, that is exactly when the National Weather Service issued their high wind warning. And so this high wind warning, let's go ahead and take a zoomed in look at this, and we're going to start from north and work our way south. So this high wind warning is up for Whatcom County, West Whatcom County, the San Juan Islands, West Skagit County, Fidalgo Island, Whidbey Island, Camino Island, West Snohomish County, up here in Northeast Jefferson County, all the way down the I-5 corridor from Bothell, the Shoreline, Kirkland through Seattle, Mercer Island, out towards Issaquah, Redmond, Maltby, Des Moines, Kent, Federal Way, Auburn, Puyallup to Tacoma, Spanaway to Fort Lewis, Yelm to Lacey and Tumwater, Rainier and Olympia. And then it goes all the way from the Kitsap Peninsula out towards Quilcene, Brennan to Shelton, and almost all the way towards Aberdeen there. And now you may be wondering, why the heck is there a high wind warning up for the Puget Sound area and not for the coast? Well, it's because this is kind of a rare situation where we're actually going to end up having potentially stronger winds going up the Puget Sound corridor region than on the coast. And the reason for this is because of the position of the low. And then for areas just east of the high wind warning, we have a wind advisory issued, and that goes all the way down towards Vancouver, Washington. And then also worth noting, there are also some high wind warnings there in southeast Washington as well for Walla Walla, Waitsburg, Dayton, Pomeroy. But we're going to look at the details of this high wind warning for Western Washington right here. So it's for all the areas that I just mentioned, and the high wind warning goes into effect at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Keep that time in your minds, 10 a.m. If you live in the southern region of this high wind warning, you want to be finished doing whatever errands you have to do by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I recommend not being on the roads during this. And yeah, I'm going to go over the worst case, and then I'll go over the best case. And for now, we're in warning mode. So I'm just going to say, if you live down in this southern part of the wind warning, just plan on being home or not driving during peak winds. If this actually verifies, it's going to be dangerous out there. And so let's go back to the warning here. 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday. What? South winds 25 to 35 miles per hour. What that means is south winds sustained at 25 to 35 miles per hour, with gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. On my page yesterday, I got quite a few comments from people being like, it's really windy where I live. And I would look up where they live, and they were getting gusts around 30, 35 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we're talking sustained winds, possibly 25 to 35 miles per hour, with gusts up towards 50 to 60. Some of those gusts that took down a whole bunch of trees in North Snohomish County and up in North Lake Stevens and Arlington a couple days ago, those were probably around 60 mile per hour gusts out of the west. And this warning is calling for widespread 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts out of the south tomorrow. Damaging winds will blow down trees, power lines, widespread power outages are expected. I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted to hear for Christmas Eve, right? Widespread power outages are expected. Travel will be difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. Additional details: winds will initially begin as east-northeasterly in the morning before an abrupt shift to southerly by midday, with which the strongest winds will occur. Highly saturated soils will allow for an enhanced risk of tree damage and uprooting. Precautionary preparedness actions. People should avoid being outside in forested areas around trees and branches. If possible, remain in the lower levels of your home during the windstorm. Avoid windows. Use caution if you must drive. That's some pretty strong language from the National Weather Service in Seattle. And then for this wind warning down here in southeast Washington, they're calling for gusts up to 65 miles per hour. It goes into effect at 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Damaging wind will blow down trees, power lines, and similar language out there. And for the wind advisory, the language for that is they're calling for east winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts of 45, abruptly shifting to south winds, which means wind coming up out of the south, moving towards the north. Sustained at 20 to 30 miles per hour, gusting to 50 miles per hour is expected. Foothills of valleys of central King County, foothills and valleys of Snohomish, northern King County, foothills and valleys of Thurston and Lewis counties from 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Yeah, so anyways, let's go ahead and start looking at the details here. So right now, again, looking at satellite imagery, this storm has already formed and it's deepening. It's developed and is developing and maturing as it moves north. And we can already see some of the effects of this in California. Look at this. Already gusting to 41 down here on I-5 right there. And then it's gusting to 49 here by San Francisco. Look at that. Gusting to 49 miles per hour down there by Half Moon Bay Airport. And the blue numbers, that's the pressure in millibars. The red, that's looking at gusts. And then the black is temperature, which right now we don't really care about temperature all that much. So I'm going to turn off the temperature to make this easier for you guys to read. Okay, so blue, pressure. Red is gusts. And thank you so much, Stacy, over on Facebook for the stars. I really do appreciate that. By the way, if you guys do give like a super chat or stars, I'll see it pop up on my screen. I really appreciate all of that. So we're already seeing the effects of this windstorm down in California right now. I see a 57 mile per hour gust there. I see a 59 mile per hour gust here. I see 51 just off the coast up here by Fort Bragg. And yeah, so these strong gusts, they're going to make their way north up the Oregon coast. And here is looking at the NAM3 cam and what it's showed with the most recent run. Thankfully, the NAM3 cam did take a little bit of a step back, but this would still be a substantial storm for much of California, Oregon, and Washington. Ends up coming up into Washington as a 983 millibar low. And what's crazy about this storm is, unlike a lot of our storms that come up off the coast by maybe 50 miles or more to the west and go up into Vancouver Island, or maybe they kind of come from this direction and then barely clip the Olympic Peninsula and go into South Vancouver. This low just goes right off the coast. Look at this, just goes right up the coast from North California and literally just rides the Oregon coast and rides up the Washington coast, and maybe we'll cross right over the Olympic Mountain Peninsula. And the European model, if you guys remember, it kind of led the charge for this a couple days ago, showing this storm, but the GFS and other models weren't really showing the storm. So the question was, is the European going to be right? Hey, thank you, Jen, over on Facebook for that generous gift of stars. Really do appreciate it. But then the European model ended up taking a step back right as other global models started showing the storm. But what has happened is today, the European model has moved back towards the direction of showing a windstorm. So here is a model run on the European from last night, and it was starting to show it a bit more by this point. But look at the left. This is the afternoon run of the European model, and it has it being several millibars deeper than it did last night. And that's a trend that's really showing on the European model. And something else I want to show you guys here is we have ensemble data that's even more helpful. And so I'm going to show you guys what it looked like on last night's run here. And then this is this afternoon's run. So last night was a bit of a nothing burger. And then look at this. It's a full 6 millibars deeper now on the ensemble data. And actually even more so right there on the coast. So the European has moved back towards a windstorm solution. And if we were to actually look at this data here, we can look at what the mean gusts are for the region. And now, the mean gust for most of Washington now is up to anywhere from 45 to nearly 50 for most of the state. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't really seem like high wind. Well, that's much higher than what it was showing before. Okay, so here's the mean before. This is what it was showing before. It was showing a mean wind gust of like 22 miles per hour on the ensemble data before. So we're talking a huge 20 to 30 mile per hour increase in the European ensemble data. And so that's moved back toward like, okay, we can be confident that a windstorm is coming. But then we have high resolution model data that's showing some pretty nasty solutions. Okay. So, the HRRR yesterday wasn't really showing much of a windstorm. The European wasn't showing much of a windstorm. The NAM 3KM model was showing quite the windstorm all the way through yesterday into today. And then earlier today, the HRRR, the HRRR model started to catch on. Look at this. Look what it's showing now. This crazy, strong mid-latitude cyclone that goes right up the Oregon coast into the Olympic Mountain Peninsula of Washington State. If we end up getting a track like this tomorrow, exactly like this verbatim, it's going to be pretty nasty. And I think this is the reason why the National Weather Service has issued their high wind warning for Western Washington. It's just because the European is trending back towards a windstorm, and we have models like the HRRR model consistently, run after run now, showing a strong mid-latitude cyclone riding up the Oregon coast and going right over the Olympic Mountain Peninsula. Okay, so, and it's now maturing. It's maturing the low at peak strength as it reaches Washington State now. It's like what the HRRR is showing is kind of worst case scenario for Washington State. And let me show you what some of the wind gusts are on the HRRR. And I apologize if I'm missing some of your comments. I'm just trying to give you guys this update so that you guys can go to bed and everything. Hey, thank you, Ian Gregg, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, and no problem. Okay, so this is one of the most recent runs of the HRRR model. Look at this. So tomorrow, this is at about 11 a.m. right here. Okay, so keep in mind the high wind warning goes into effect in southwest in Washington at 10 a.m. You want to be finished doing your stuff at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Just try to stay off the roads. If you have to do holiday travel, I would encourage you to either do it early tomorrow morning or just wait for this windstorm to be over and do it tomorrow night. So here's 11 a.m. has 60 to 65 mile per hour gusts coming into Vancouver, Washington, Longview, Kelso, 57 to 60. And then by noon right here, the surge of wind has reached Olympia, 55 to 60 miles per hour, extending off towards the east towards Mount Rainier. And then, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing. I saw a comment that made me chuckle, and then here is by 1 p.m. and we have 55 to 62 mile per hour gusts coming up into Federal Way, Tacoma, Seattle. Just nasty stuff. That's where this model run ends. But we're going to switch back to the 0Z. Now, keep in mind, what I just showed, that was the HRRR, which is the high resolution rapid refresh model, and it shows it reaching peak strength right as it reaches Washington State. It's maturing, which means the storm is going to be at its strongest if that model is correct. And this is looking at just a few runs previous. Next step. All right, so this is 1 p.m. here, 2 p.m. Just seriously nasty stuff. If this is anywhere close to being right. 60 to 65 miles per hour for Everett, around 61 miles per hour for Arlington, and it has like 58 miles per hour for much of West Snohomish County. And this one would be out of the south. And Alex asks, am I chasing? Yes, I plan on being out there for this tomorrow. Gonna try to figure out the safest way possible to chase this. And then look at that. Camino, if this is right, I really hope it's wrong, but for Camino, it's showing wind gusts up towards 70. And if we zoom in here, I'm going to zoom in a little closer here to the Seattle view. There's a couple spots there in like the mid 60s around Camino. I really hope this is wrong, guys. And then look at this out there by like Port Townsend, and there's a bit of Lilo action that's going to be happening most likely tomorrow with this as well. It's not going to make things any better. So out there by like Port Hadlock and Hansville and Port Townsend and possibly Blinn, it's showing some gusts getting up towards 80 over there. And I really hope this is wrong. I really hope this is wrong. Up there by West Skagit County, it has wind gusts anywhere from 60 to 67 miles per hour. It has some wind gusts coming into the Bellingham Bay there. I'm going to make sure I'm calling that the right thing. Sorry, I've got so many things on my mind. I just want to make sure I'm getting the names correct for communication's sake. Yep, Bellingham Bay and Samish Bay has wind gusts up towards 70. And also 65 to 70 miles per hour gusts out there by the San Juans. And then it just rakes, this model run just rakes West Whatcom County. I really hope it's wrong, guys. But there is a high wind warning. And so just beware. Again, if you didn't see me actually read the high wind warning, I'm going to do that again right now. So goes into effect. Oh, okay. So, okay. It's important to actually read the timing on these. So the high wind warning for areas south, there's a couple different timings. The ones down south goes into effect at 10 a.m. and that's calling for 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then the wind warning up farther north, I think the way they did this is really smart, goes into effect at 1 p.m. And that is calling for gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour as well. So a good way of thinking about this is if you live in South Washington, get your stuff done by early mid-morning. Just kind of get your stuff done. It might be, if you're working tomorrow, it might be worth just talking to your boss and be like, hey, is it okay if I get home before this? If you're doing any holiday travel tomorrow, I would suggest get it done early enough to where you can be wherever you're going before the onset of the wind. Or if you want to try to drive around after the storm, there might be some tree damage and things like that, but they'll probably clean up main highways and I-5 pretty quickly. But then if you live further north, like Snohomish County, Skagit County, Whidbey, Camino, San Juans, Whatcoms. I would suggest from basically Snohomish County north, try to get your stuff done by noon. And then the wind is probably going to really start blowing, if the models are correct, by about 1 p.m. up there. My mother-in-law gets off work at 12:30 tomorrow in Stanwood, and she lives in Arlington. I'm like, hey, just drive straight home. Just get home. And so that's what she's going to do. We were supposed to have our Christmas gathering with my in-laws tomorrow, and we've canceled it. So if that kind of gives you an idea of how seriously we're taking this, they would have been driving to our house right around 1 p.m. And I'm like, you know what, guys? It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Christmas, the holidays, it's as my mother-in-law likes to say, it's not about the day. It's about the meaning behind it, and also the people that you're spending it with. Hey, Rev, thank you so much for that generous gift of 5,000 stars. Really appreciate that. I do believe that's $50. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Rosalie, for the stars. Thank you, Jen, for the stars. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you, Leanne Knutson, for the super chat. And Ian Gregg, thank you again for that as well. Yeah. So, and also if you're watching this, I've been doing some testing. I got my Starlink all hooked up, got the AT&T and T-Mobile and Starlink all bonded, networked together to make kind of a super signal. So hopefully the streams should be super reliable. When the Starlink starts struggling, the other signals are going to supplement, and it should help. If you're on YouTube and you have no idea what I mean by stars, that's kind of like, that's like Facebook's super chat. I'm also live streaming on Facebook right now at the same time. Okay. So that's what the HER is showing. The HER is showing some nasty stuff. Okay. And we can probably look at the most recent run of the HER, the 04Z. Let's see if it's still showing. Okay, it only goes out 14 hours. We'll know here soon. We can back out though. We can look at the region of the Northwest. Yeah, Megan asks about Portland. I'll show that in just a second. Yeah, Brian, one of my members, says get gas for your generators. That's great advice. That's what I'm doing in the morning, is getting gas for my generators. Ken, one of my members on the YouTube channel, says, hello from Alaska. We've been through several windstorms. Each time we lost power about 5 times. So everyone should prepare for outages, charge phones, flashlights, etc. Preparing is essential. I 100% agree. James Salmon asks, what time am I going to be live streaming tomorrow? I am probably going to start streaming sometime like around 11 a.m. if I had to guess. I'm probably going to go a little bit south and follow the surge north as best as I can and as safely as I can. Okay. So right now we're looking at the most recent run of the HRRR model, and it's looking very similar to previous runs. So here is comparing it to the run before, and so far it's almost identical. Yeah, it's not changing. It's just maintaining this. It's maintaining that look, and we'll just have to see if it matures it to the same degree as other runs have. But I just think it's interesting that it's maturing it. It's reaching like peak strength right as it goes over the Olympic Peninsula tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to zoom back in, and someone asked about the Portland area. So real quick, out of courtesy, I am just going to show Oregon real fast for this. So this is looking at what the most recent run of the HER is showing for Oregon. So strong winds down there in the southwest Oregon coast are going to start late tonight. This is looking at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. So, I mean, if you live in the Willamette Valley, you want to be wrapping up your stuff by 9 a.m. You want to be home, ready to go. Has wind gusts anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then as it gets up towards like Salem and Eugene, it's looking like 50 to 60 on this model here. The European was a bit weaker with it, but still had 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. And the NAM 3KM was showing wind gusts of like 40 to 50. But that would still be reasonably damaging, especially with all of the wind that we've been getting. And hey, Brian Locklear, thank you so much for that super chat. I really do appreciate that. And let's take another quick look at what's going on here. Oh, okay. Here's a pretty good indication of what's going on for us. Something I just noticed that's kind of interesting. All right, I'm going to turn off the temperature because nobody cares about temperature right now. Notice this. Look at this. You can tell the pressure. We're beginning to feel the effects of this low already. And how do I know that? Well, we have northerly winds going down the sound now. Look at that. Down there on Vashon Island, it's gusting to 15 miles per hour out of the north now, which means the wind up here in Washington State, where do you think it's heading? The air is heading towards the low. Where's the low? The low is off of the California coast. So guys, the low is way down here, and we're already feeling the effects of it way up here. I think that should give you an idea of what kind of storm this is. Real quick, I'm just going to do a little measuring device here. The storm is like 800 miles away. The low center is like 800 miles away. And we're already getting some northerly winds because of it. Thank you for the stars, Quentin, over there on Facebook. And Sandy, thank you for the stars. Quinn, really appreciate the stars. Yeah, I was just talking with my dad. We're probably, if we lose power, we're probably just going to warm up our ham in the barbecue, Yeah, I think I haven't actually checked to be totally sure, but I think this possibly could verify as being a bomb cyclone, but let's see. Yeah, I'd have to double check that when I have a little bit more brain power. Hey, thank you, Janine. Janine, what's going on? Janine, old friend of mine watching here. If that's the Janine, I believe it is. Okay, I'm going to look at some of your comments here now that you guys have kind of gotten the idea. It's windstorm coming. Warnings are out. By the way, if you want to read these warnings, I'm going to drop a link to these warnings in the YouTube chat and in the Facebook chat, and you can kind of look at them and try to get familiar with the warning in your area. Hey, Leanne Knudsen became a member on YouTube. I think you're also a subscriber on Facebook, so thank you for double dipping. Really appreciate that. Let me think here. Yeah, okay, so I just dropped the links to the high wind warnings. So someone just asked, any lightning expected or just windy? And yes, hi Ben, long time no chat. That's awesome. Good to see you there, Janine. Any lightning expected? Let's double check that. We have a way to check that here. So let's go ahead and we'll pull up the European, and then we'll look at some of their severe products here. Lightning flash. So there is some lightning associated with it. Okay, guys, hey, check it out. We got the 0Z European running right now. We should be able to look at what it's doing. So it looks like it might have some lightning for Oregon, but not so much for Washington. Okay, let's see what the European is looking like now. European still looks wonky with this to a certain degree. It dives it inland, down there in Oregon and then brings it up through Washington. It still would be windy, but it wouldn't be quite as windy as what the HER and NAM 3KM are showing. So this is still the battle of the models, man. This is crazy. I've never seen the model. The models just disagreeing with each other so much, like under 12 hours away from an event. Yeah, Kurt Kaplan. I agree. I've thought that the National Weather Service in Portland should have a high wind watch up for like the last 18 hours or more, 24 hours. SeaTac implications. You would be surprised what those guys can fly in. And their runways are oriented north to south, so they might be able to pull some pretty crazy stuff off tomorrow. But if the runways were oriented east to west, this would be a huge issue for landing and takeoff. But I would just be watching your airline. All right, looking at your comments a little more here. Yeah, so we'll have to at this point we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to start relying much less on the models and start relying way more on real-time observations. What we do know is the storm is there. And we're going to know very soon if this low does dive inland or if it does straddle right off the California and Oregon coast. It's really going to be close because, again, look at the HER. Has it reaching the northwest California coast by this morning around 4 a.m. and then it has it just barely staying off the Oregon coast. And if this low can barely stay off the coast, that is what is going to lead to a stronger windstorm in Oregon and Washington. Yeah, you can see this is wind like a couple thousand feet above the ground. And you see how just to the right of the low is where you have that stronger wind aloft. And look at that. It just enhances right there in the Willamette Valley and in the Puget Sound region. And some of that could get mixed down towards the surface. But if this low ends up being a little bit further inland and to the east... Oh, this is all messed up. You notice, look at that. You don't get quite as much of that crazy wind. You get a little bit of a surge there through the Puget Sound, but not as much as what the HER is showing. But either way, kind of the nutshell of my thoughts. Hey, Dirk Doppler, thanks for becoming a member on the channel. Really appreciate it. The nutshell of my thoughts is I think I 100% agree with the National Weather Service in Seattle issuing this high wind warning, because at this point there's enough data to indicate that a high wind event is definitely possible, nearing unlikely. I mean, the language of this high wind warning is that it is expected. Now, in saying that, personally, I'm hoping it busts. I'm hoping this is wrong. I don't want this to occur. But do I think that them issuing the high wind warning is the right move? Absolutely. Because what it's going to do is it's going to help people prepare. And if it helps keep more people off the roads on one of the biggest travel days of the year, and helps keep people safe, that is great. That is great. You know, the National Weather Service, I'm willing to bet the National Weather Service is likely going to save some lives with this warning, because some people are going to stay home and not have their cars get hit by trees or whatever. Randy Talmadge on Facebook says, can we just get a freak blizzard with this? I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? In some regards, depending on whether or not you're a snow lover. Yeah, Lolo Lil, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your channel right, says, let's just hope King Hero is right. Yes, let's. And by the way, if you're watching this live stream right now, I do want to let you know I will be out doing a live storm chase tomorrow starting late morning. So if you want to see some live storm chasing, make sure and check back. Like this stream, help it get out to more and more people. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The more people that like this stream, the more that helps this get out to more people. And also the more it just kind of helps this channel out and helps me out. And, but really with these kind of storms, with these kind of streams, I just want this to be able to help as many people as possible. So each like helps people. Just think of it that way. Yes, I am planning on being safe. I am brainstorming the ways to do this as safely as possible tomorrow. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 new members in the stream tonight. Thank you and welcome. All right, just looking at some of your comments here before I go any further. Let's look at some of the readings down there in Cali now. Some pretty decent gusts happening in the higher terrain just to the east of San Jose. And also, look at that, just to the west of San Jose, 59 miles per hour. Just to the west of San Francisco, gusting to 45. And the pressure on this buoy out here is down to 998. Up here in Eureka, it is down to 996. Barefoot in Cascadia. Wow, thank you for that super chat. $50. Really appreciate that. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that you would like answered. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Hey, thank you, Joyce, for the stars on Facebook. Gusting to 57 out there. Where is this? By Cape Rock and Sharp Rock. Elevation of this is at 1,000 feet. So that's tapping into some of the winds above the surface there. But look at this. So between 8:20 p.m. and 9:10 p.m. At 8:10 p.m. it was 8 miles per hour, gusting to 12. And then 1 hour later, sustained at 38, gusting to 57. That should give you an idea of what's going on. And there you can see the rapid increase in gusts right there. Thank you, Joyce, for the stars. Thank you, Karen, for the stars. Really appreciate it. Chris Madison asks if there's any chance we could see snow in where would your question just go? Just like disappeared. Seeing snow in the Pacific Northwest on Christmas. Well, up in the mountains, yes. Kelly asks if this is a wind event or a rain event too. It's a rain event for California. For us, we're going to get some rain up in Washington State, but that's really not the main story. And it's compared to the rain that we've gotten the last several weeks, it's not going to be much at all. Looking at the Chris Madsen's question about the snow, if we can just take a quick look at what the 0Z European is showing for the region here. So here's tomorrow with that system moving off, and then going into Christmas Day, there is going to be a pretty substantial storm that's going to form to the west of California. For the northwest California coast, this is going to be like a double whammy. And it is going to spread some moisture up north. It's going to be some snow for the upper terrains. And then it just kind of shows a bit of a mix. But we got to check the temperatures. So this is looking at Thursday night. The European has a couple areas getting down into the the low 30s on Friday night. Sorry, on Thursday. Okay, let me start over. The European has some areas of Western Washington getting into the low 30s on Thursday night into Friday morning with a little bit of showers around. So maybe there will be a couple little snowflakes around barely on Christmas evening, but nothing crazy. Yeah, nothing enough to accumulate whatsoever. It would just be like wet snowflakes if anything did fall. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Look at that. The accumulated positive snow depth does show just a little bit of snow there in South Snohomish County. I'm not going to put any stock into this right now, but who knows? Maybe if we're super fortunate, we'll see a couple little snowflakes flying around on Christmas evening. We can take a look at the NAM 3KM. Yeah, the NAM 3KM is not really showing that. So, and the NAM 3KM is much warmer than tonight's European. So, yeah, if the European's right with the temperatures on Thursday night into Friday morning, and we have a little bit of precip around, who knows? Maybe we could see just a little bit of wet snow around on Christmas evening. Okay, folks. I'm going to look at your comments for a little bit more here. Jill West asks about Hoodsport. Yeah, you guys have a high wind warning out there for tomorrow. All right, I'm gonna look at your comments a little bit more here, and then I'm probably going to end up wrapping this thing up. Hey, the Sparky Pilot, thank you for those kind words when you responded to that super chat from Barefoot. All right. Yeah, no problem, guys, for streaming this. Again, if you're watching this, I will be doing a storm chasing live stream tomorrow. Okay. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And yeah, just stay on your toes. Be following the National Weather Service. Again, I always want to encourage you guys to get familiar with weather.gov. That's where you're going to find all the official warnings. Weather.gov, and then you can click on the map for where you live. And then if you have an idea of where you live, let's just say you live in Arlington. I'm going to click on where I think Arlington is. And then you can scroll down. You can see how close you got. It's like, okay, cool. I clicked right there on Smoky Point, just to the west of Arlington. And then you can kind of see what they're expecting for your location. Right here, hazardous weather conditions. You have a high wind warning up for your location. And then this map here, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you can drag it around and click on other areas. It's pretty helpful just to be able to do this and see if you are under a high wind warning or a high wind advisory, etc. And look at this down here at Renton Municipal. If you can see right here and zoom in, look at this. Wednesday, rain, mainly before 1 p.m. Breezy with a northeast wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, becoming 19 to 29 mile per hour sustained, with gusts as high as 55 miles per hour. You don't normally see that in these little automated forecasts around here. So anyways, high wind warning up for Western Washington and for Southeast Washington. A couple winter weather advisories out there in Eastern Washington. Also wind advisories up for portions of Washington State. Going to be a windstorm tomorrow, most likely at this point. That's why the National Weather Service issued this high wind warning, and hopefully it busts so that everyone can have a bit more of an enjoyable Christmas Eve and Christmas. This is not what we want to be dealing with around Christmas. Okay, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And thank you, moderators, for helping out with this. Really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who became members. And by the way, real quick, before I end this, I need to get into the habit of thanking my members. I specifically want to thank a couple here. Let's see if I can figure out how to even do this real fast. All right, hang on. Stand by here. I'm going to figure this out. Memberships. There we go. All right. I just want to, okay. So M. Harden, if you are watching, they became a super Washington Weather Chaser, which is basically sponsorship level. So thank you so much. And then also Mega, that's the one, Mega WX Chaser membership level. That's like an official sponsorship call out. And then Crazy Birdman, Super WX Chaser, and Paddle Racing, Super WX Chaser. And also to all my other members, I'm not going to read all your names out loud right now. It'd take a little bit too long, but I just want to thank all 72 of you over here on Facebook, and to you 90 plus subscribers on Facebook. I just want to thank all of you guys so much as well for your support. And last but not least, something I forgot to link in here tonight is my coffee. And my coffee, I really enjoy it because super chats and stars, they end up taking a cut of anything that people donate, like a significant cut. But Ko-Fi or coffee, they don't take a cut at all from creators, and the donations and the tips are done immediately. Yeah, Wall Mama, I would like to get a little scroll going of the members' names, especially during these live streams. So thank you so much, Wall Mama and Ken and Brian, all of you members that are watching, Donna, Skagit Ed, Barefoot and Cascadia, all of you guys. I'm really thankful for you all. But yeah, as I was mentioning, that Ko-Fi, the funds are made available immediately. So that ends up being used for things like gas on storm chases and stuff like that. Anyways, folks, thanks, and stay safe tomorrow. Stay off the roads after 10 a.m. for South Washington and after 1 p.m. if you live from about Snohomish County north. Just try to get all your traveling done either early in the morning or in the afternoon, and hope for the best. Hopefully this ends up being a nothing burger. If this ends up being a nothing burger, I will go ahead and do a polar plunge into Lake Stevens on the day after Christmas. And you guys will have to hold me up to that. Okay, folks. I will talk to you later. Adios.